What we are witnessing now is effectively 4 humanitarian crises, spanning 4 countries: Somalia, South Sudan, northeast Nigeria and Yemen. And this is a crisis that is affecting almost 20 million people. We're seeing parts of Somalia in drought and famine, and we're now seeing the real prospect of other famines, so potentially 4 famines this year alone. So today I'm calling for the international community to step up, to put support in, financial support and aid into the big appeals that are taking place. There are 4 UN appeals for those 4 countries, and on top of that we have the DEC appeal, which has been announced today, launched today, specifically for Africa, so Somalia, South Sudan, Ethiopia and Kenya in particular, where the British government is also leading in the support that we are giving. We are pledging £5 million to match fund every pound for pound that's given by the British public. We will match that up to £5 million, and effectively that'll mean, £25 will provide food and water for a child for a month. £60 would give families for 2 months water, and so we need to get food and supplies into these countries to the people that are in crisis and in real need as soon as possible.
Sadly, we've kind of seen this coming for a long time. Why is it that once again we find ourselves on the cusp of a catastrophe, and despite everything that your department has done and other countries who do have a commitment to international aid have done, we still don't seem to stave off or nip these things in the bud? Why do we not manage to do that?
Well, I think first of all, with Somalia, I visited Somalia recently and I met with health workers and NGOs and charities, and they explained to me the extent of the crisis. That is down to drought, and so I immediately put in over £100 million for support, food, water and provisions into Somalia alone. And of course, we're now calling on others to step up. We must also recognise that the situation we are in 2017 is because of man-made conflict. South Sudan, northeast Nigeria, where we see Boko Haram, Yemen, where there is conflict, South Sudan, where there is an atrocious civil war taking place. So we, of course, want to see peace brought to those countries. But what we see right now is huge displacement, internally displaced people in the millions, basically, across those three countries. But at the same time, we are recognising the need is great, basically, in terms of the humanitarian support, food, water, shelter, disease as well. Disease is rife in many of these countries. We're seeing cholera outbreaks as well. We're seeing children, malnourished children, who are in desperate need of food, and they are the people that we are effectively putting this money into the system for, and making sure that UK aid and UK leadership in the international development community is providing the support that is needed.
However, I mean, you must be worried that because of the inherent instability of these places, is the money all going to reach the people who really need it?
Well, we know in these crises, and particularly where we have the humanitarian crisis taking place, that we are not giving money to any government. So, I mean, that is absolutely, the right thing. We are not giving money to governments. What we are doing is we are working with trusted partners. So the NGOs and charities, ranging from the UNICEF to Save the Children to the World Food Programme. The World Food Programme are getting food into people that simply haven't had access to food for not just days, but in some cases weeks and months as well. So these are the partners that are working on the ground. When I went to Somalia, I met with them as well. And they are the ones that know the landscape where people are living in very difficult communities as well, where getting food access has been very challenging. In South Sudan alone, we know from previous requests, last year there were 900 requests that were put in to grant access for aid into various communities where it's very difficult to get aid in, and they were turned down. So, the British government and the international community, we're calling the government out. We're saying you've got to allow aid access to get in, because otherwise all we're seeing is that particular government compound the human suffering of their own people, while the rest of the world are desperately trying to get aid in to help those people that are in desperate need.
Just finally, I mean, you must be personally frustrated to see that, as I said, once again, it has built and built and built to the point where, yes, there is some natural element to it, but it's not an unanticipated natural disaster compounded by these issues. I mean, the UK public are amazing when it comes to this kind of thing, but there has to be a point where they're no longer asked, here is a starving child, lay out some money. We have to get beyond having only that response.
Well, I totally agree. Here we are in 2017, witnessing the type of pictures on our TV screens that we've not seen in many years, actually, in many, many years. And the reality is that we know that conflict and instability, is driving much of the crisis that we see, which is why, through the generosity of UK taxpayers, it is in our national interest to give the support that we are giving to make sure that we can bring peace and end conflict across, those countries and those governments through our place in the world, what we do in the international community. So through our aid budget, absolutely, but through our world-class, our first-class diplomacy as well, the work that the Foreign Office does, but also through our defence team as well. That combination means that UK leadership is second to none in the world, but also that we can help when it comes to peacekeeping, conflict resolution, but also importantly providing the life-saving and the life-changing aid that people in these countries are in desperate need of right now.